What is going on, Trident community? Evan from Trident Incorporated here, and today we're going to be starting our pros and cons edition of prospecting. Now, we are going to be mainly focusing on football. Prospecting can apply to all sports, though. Prospecting happens in every single sport: basketball, baseball. It's actually probably the most popular in baseball. Hockey, soccer, it could be anything really. But for today's exercise, we are going to be using the examples of football, what prospecting is. And like I said, it is mostly the most popular, I would say, in baseball because you have Bowman. Your Bowman first cards come out, and that is the first card of that prospect, basically, that rookie. Prospecting is buying a player right when his first cards come out, holding them, hoping that maybe they get an opportunity down the line. Whereas in baseball, you are buying a guy who's maybe 17, 18 years old. You're buying his Bowman first card, hoping that he makes it to the majors, makes it big, and you can turn that $10 card into $20, $25. Whereas, football, you're buying rookies who maybe are lower on the depth chart, haven't gotten a chance to start yet, but are going to, right? Maybe it takes a year or two, but eventually it pays off. So that's really what prospecting is. And I do think that there is a lot to gain from it, but there's a lot to be careful about as well. So today we're going to be taking a look at all of that stuff. The first pro I have on my list here is anyone can hit at any time. Tom Brady was a 6th round pick. You think the guy who was ripping Bowman Chrome back in 2000, you think he was sitting there, oh man, all right, got another Brady rookie, okay, just sort of throwing it, right? 6th round pick, never heard of him. I bet you it's singing a different tune right about now. So anyone can hit at any point. The NFL is very unpredictable. Players go down with injuries, other players get opportunities to start, and sometimes they make the most of those opportunities. So I do think it's safe to sort of, maybe not throw away your base rookies, just to keep, just to have, right? Just save them for a rainy day, basically. Just because you never know what's going to pop up. And like I said, anyone can hit at any time. Another pro is you can stock up on low end and cheap rookies at first, hoping that a few hit. I think big examples of this are Puka Nacua of the Rams and BrockPurdy. Puka Nacua specifically, his select draft picks, his Prism draft picks, his rookies when the bases when he first came out were selling for a good bit of money because it's like some of the only Puka Nacua cards out there. And if you load up on them at the time when you're loading up, it doesn't seem significant. You could probably get that for $1, maybe even less, especially the bases. And now you were able to, especially when there weren't his cards out, right? When that was one of his first cards, and if you just waited, didn't throw those out, right? You just were patient with it, you could turn that into a big profit. BrockPurdy, when you're ripping 2022 Donruss, BrockPurdy's not the biggest name there, right? So he was printed, and you can find some good BrockPurdy rookies, whether it's Donruss or Score. Those are some of the ones that had released pretty early on in Purdy's career before he really took off. And I think it's a really good thing, for the hobby, because again, it gives you opportunities to cash in big, basically on a lottery ticket almost. So it is nice, I think, to have those opportunities, and just that fact of you never know, you never know. So be able to load up, and also if you're loaded up on cheaper end stuff, if they don't work out, they don't work out. You're only out a couple bucks. You're not out hundreds, thousands of dollars here. So if they don't work out, you lose a couple dollars, but if they do, you can make a good profit, and it is I think quite valuable. My last pro here is if it isn't a QB, it's likely pretty affordable at first, especially with some of the base rookies. And I will say at first, because that player plays a little bit more, they start to do well, that card might actually go up. Now, a lot of times base rookies will be higher at very first, and then come down, or like a Bijan Robinson optic rated rookie right now. You could probably get that for $1, maybe $2, $3 maybe, somewhere. Whereas, when it first released, you were probably paying anywhere from $5 to $10. So that is the base stuff, right? The base stuff is the stuff that sort of loses its value quickly, but affordable at first, I say, because down the line here, if Bijan Robinson goes on to have a fantastic career, that base rookie may actually be worth a little bit more. So, particularly running backs and wide receivers, certain rookies can be cheaper options if you're not willing to jump into the deep end on a big time quarterback. A lot of them rookies can be solid options for you if that's what you're looking to do. Now we have to move on to some of the cons, and the pro, and one last pro actually I just thought of. Prospecting's fun. I mean, it is fun. It's fun to take a chance on a guy because it almost feels like you're scouting him. Like, oh, I discovered this guy, and I'm hoping that he does well, right? Because if he does, then I'm able to sell it, or I just have some pretty darn cool cards in my collection. So it is fun. It is fun to think about, well, if this guy can break out, or this guy, nobody's talking about this guy, but I know about him. That's fun. So I definitely get it. Some of the cons, though. There's lots of players, especially when a product is first released. There's lots of players with lots of early hype. Not all those players are going to have great results. Look, none of us have crystal balls, right? We don't know who's going to be good, who's going to be bad. We don't know who's going to get hurt, who's not. We don't know what type of situations they're going to be in, whether it's team-wise or organization-wise. If it's a quarterback, does he have a bad offensive line? Are his receivers not great? Is the organization not great? That could all hurt him. We don't know that. I think a couple of the bigger examples right here are Trey Lance and Zach Wilson. Those are two pretty big examples of guys who were pretty hot at the time, right? At the time when they were drafted. Zach Wilson went number 2 overall to the Jets in 2021. Trey Lance right behind him, number 3 overall to the 49ers. Both of those teams now have different quarterbacks under center, and neither one of them are on the team that drafted them. So a lot of people probably invested a lot of money in Trey Lance and Zach Wilson back in the day, and those are the people that lost, right? So while it is fun, it does come with risk. It does, especially when you're dealing with higher end stuff. High risk, high reward, I would say, when you're dealing with the higher end stuff. So a guy like Trey Lance, a guy like Zach Wilson, who both looked like they had tremendous upside, it hasn't quite panned out for them yet in their NFL careers. Not saying it can't, but right now it's not looking likely that those cards that you bought back in 2021 for a couple $100, it's not looking likely like you're ever going to be able to get that profit back. So just be careful when it comes to that. The other con is it is tough to know when to buy and when to sell these things. It is like a stock market. It is difficult to know, especially during the season. It's tough to know when to buy and sell these things. It can be tricky, and missing the boat could lead to losing a lot of money. I look at 2 examples. Both of these are going back a little bit, but got Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz looked like an MVP at the NFL, really leading the Eagles. He gets hurt. A few things happen. Nick Foles comes in. All of a sudden, Wentz's career sort of goes downhill quickly, and he can't quite recover. So Carson Wentz's, his cards were up for a while, and I'm sure the people that sold, even like before the big boom, right, of 2020, before that boom, those people that sold, they made profit. Now, if you wanted to hold and you're saying, hey, like I got faith in this guy or whatever, you probably lost some money with Carson Wentz. Another guy is Sam Darnold. And while Sam Darnold is doing well with the Minnesota Vikings right now, the Vikings, as of the recording of this video, are 2-0 right now under the leadership of Sam Darnold. Look, he was a very high draft pick for the New York Jets, and there was a lot of money invested in him, and it just didn't work out. Then he goes to the Carolina Panthers, and it doesn't really work out there. His cards plummeted, and yes, maybe they go up a little bit more now, right? Maybe they go up a little bit because of his success with Minnesota, but they're not going to be what they were, right? They're not going to be what they were back in 2018 when he got drafted. That's just not going to be in the cards, basically. No pun intended there. But it's not going to be the same, right? Those prices are not, even if Sam Darnold really has a resurgence here, it's probably not going to reach those peak level prices of a lot of his rookies. So knowing when to buy, knowing when to sell, knowing when to buy guys when they're low because you think they're going to go up, that's smart. Knowing when to sell because, look, like you think this might be the peak of the market, that's smart too. It is smart to know when that is, but the tough thing is it can be tricky. It can be difficult to tell just because, like I said earlier, nobody has a magic ball. a magic crystal ball here. Nobody can tell the future, and a lot of things can change very quickly in the NFL. Now, if it isn't a QB, and here's one of my final cons, if it isn't a quarterback or a really high-end player slash or parallel or that of that player, that particular player, it likely won't have much value or as much value. The hobby really, I mean, and I get it. QBs are, the cool option, right? They're the flashy option. But if it's not a Justin Jefferson or a Jamar Chase or a Travis Kelce, a Monroe St. Brown, somebody like that, if it's not a really high end name or a really cool parallel of that high end name, it probably won't be anywhere close to what a quarterback is. It's just simple as that. It probably won't be anywhere close to the value of a quarterback, even if that quarterback may not be off to the greatest start. People are willing to take a shot on the quarterback more. The hobby is just willing to pay up for quarterbacks more. So it is tough, when you're prospecting, because you're kind of, in a way, you're kind of pigeonholed into only getting quarterbacks sometimes. And that can be a little bit difficult, I do think. One of the final cons I'm going to say about prospecting, and this is something to where, it all depends on the person. You have to be patient. There has to be patience there. If you're looking for a quick flip, can that happen? Sure, it can happen. Those type of turnarounds, those quick turnarounds can happen. You buy a guy, right before the season, he has the first 5-6 games. You flip it for profit. That can happen. But sometimes you may need to wait a year or two for these guys to really blossom and really come into their own as football players as they develop. So it does take a patience, and think about the people with baseball. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, you're having a card of a 17, 18-year-old kid, and he might not even reach the majors until he's 21, 22 years old, and you're hoping to sell it then. So patience is something that you have to have in the world of prospecting. But it is fun, I will go right back to that pro. It is one of the funner things, I think, in the hobby. But let me know what you guys think about prospecting. I am really curious to get your guys' thoughts, because it feels like a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on prospecting in the hobby. It feels like there's a lot of varying opinions of that. Some people really like it. Some people, that's all they look to do. And some people don't love it as much. So I definitely get it. And I do think there's risk involved, but at the same time, there's also reward involved in that as well. So with that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm very curious to hear. Thank you all for the support on Trident Incorporated on Whatnot. Please be sure to check out our store, the Anytime Auctions. The Anytime Auction House here, folks, is flowing. We got a lot of bangers in the store for you constantly, really. You go on the Whatnot app, even if we're not live, even if there's not a show running, you can go ahead and get looking at the store, because there is going to be something there for you. There's going to be something there for you. Be sure to get those bids in. I am also going to be posting a referral code in the bio of this video. That referral code will get you $15 if you sign up for Whatnot. If you have not already signed up for Whatnot, you're watching this video, you wonder what we are, want to check us out, sign up, Whatnot. You get $15 right off the bat. You get 15 free bucks. So be sure to subscribe to Trident Incorporated on Whatnot, the house of the true collector. But thank you all for watching, and keep collecting.